So I have the privilege of sharing my hermitage with my dog, who is a very faithful puppy. And normally he's very low maintenance, actually, because I obviously sleep in the bed on one side of the hermitage, and he sleeps on a blanket way over at the door. He likes the draft. There's a draft. It's a long story. He likes the cold. So that's where he sleeps. But last night, for some reason, I don't know what he ate, or I don't know what he read, or what was going on, but normally he doesn't wake up at night. But last night, four times, he came over to the bed and he was nudging me and pawing me and everything. And he normally only does that if he eats something that he needs to go through the bathroom. But 4 times in one night, that has never happened ever. Okay. And when I'd open the door, and it was lashing rain like it is now, you'd open the door, he doesn't mind the rain at all, and he bolts out, he sprints, and he jumps. He does this kind of deer jump, where he kind of does the leprechaun jump, where he jumps and the back legs go like a bit of a tap to one side. He was every single time. It's not getting boring. It's getting boring for me. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. But he just loved it. He just loved that freedom. Love that. Just as soon as the door opens enough, wide enough for his head, boom, he's gone. And off into I don't know where, just down into the field, goes to the bathroom and comes back in 5 minutes. And it reminded me of something which the rector of our seminary said years ago. He said he's a very observant person, and very smart, very, very capable, and all that. And he said that he noticed one Lent that he did a bit of self-reflection. And he said, I recognized that I had put people into boxes, right? So this kind of it's basically you've judged them and maybe judged them unfavorably. So then what that means is then that every time you see that person, you see them in their box, right? So there's Katie. Oh yeah, she's the lazy one. There's Rebecca. She's the one who doesn't care about anyone but herself. There's Katie. She's the critical one. She's always criticizing everyone. And as soon as you see the person, what comes to your mind is the box that they're in. It can be so instinctive. You don't even know you're doing it. It's just oh, there she is, and it's done. And before you even recognize you've done it, you've already kind of categorized them and systematically placed them in their box. And he recognized. He said, "What am I doing?" He said, "This isn't of God. This isn't how God sees us." And this isn't, he is a priest obviously, he said for me as a priest, this isn't good enough. So his Lenten resolution was to free everyone from their box. To as such wipe the slate and start again. So not to see a person and say, oh, that's that person, that's the lazy one, that's the loud one, that's the one who dodges responsibility, that's the whatever. But to start with a kind of a clean slate. That's my brother. That's my brother. That's my sister. Because another interesting thing about this is that while we're very, very quick, and this was even a reading a couple of days ago, so quick, I think it was a Sunday, to see the splinter in your brother's eye without seeing the plank in your own, because it's quite likely, it's very, very likely, it's very unlikely not to be any other way, that if you see them with all of their problems and all their difficulties and all their limitations, what are yours? As in, if this is how we should do things, box people, okay, so then my box is more than likely the critical one. If I've boxed, you know what I mean? It's what I'm saying is, like, we're very quick to spot the weaknesses in everybody else, but spotting the weaknesses in everybody else and not responding with love is a weakness. So maybe that's my weakness. Maybe my weakness is I'm the negative one. I'm the critical one. It's kind of it's an interesting kind of a self-reflection, especially in this time of Lent, to free people and to very deliberately and very consciously free people from the boxes that we've put them into, the judgments that we've cast on them, because this is just not how the Lord sees us. When we become aware of these things, we then have a responsibility to act on them. And this you do see unfortunately here in Ireland, in families as well, when there's a family breakup or split up or whatever. And it can happen between counties, it can happen between countries, it can happen, they're the people from that side, they're all that way. People from, we don't, it gets very politically correct now to give examples, but But you know what I mean? You all know it. Like, the French, they're typical. They're always, the English, they're always, oh yeah. The Americans, they're always, oh yeah. The Germans, they're always, yeah. And it's so easy to group them all into this box. And then kind of innate, we have this kind of almost instinctive reaction just to leave them there. And that's it. To kind of write them off. That's it. Done. At the beginning of Lent, we had a reading from the prophet Isaiah, where the Lord speaks through Isaiah and says, "Is this the sort of fast that pleases me? A truly penitential day for men, hanging your head like a reed, lying down in sackcloth and ashes? Is that what you call fasting? A day acceptable to the Lord?" The answer is no, by the way. He's saying these things they're okay on their own, but this is not the point of Lent. He said, "Is this not the sort of fast that pleases me? It is the Lord who speaks, to break the unjust fetter." So a fetter is like a chain. To break the unjust chain. So where have I kind of changed someone, judged someone, criticized them, put them in a box, tied them up? Break it. Is this not the kind of fast that pleases me? This kind of, remember, this is all interior life, all interior. It all happens in here. It all happens very, very quickly. Is this not the kind of fast that pleases me? It is the Lord who speaks. It is the Lord who, he's underlining this. Whenever he says that, like he's saying, this is for you. It is God who speaks. Is this not the kind of fast that pleases me? To break the unjust fetter. To undo the thongs of the yoke. The yoke is that heavy thing that you put on a bull or an ox when he's pulling a plow. So it's a big, heavy wooden thing that goes across his shoulder so he can pull it, but they're necessarily heavy. So that's the yoke. So to break that, because I've put them on people. When I judge them, that's what I do. You're chained. In my mind, I've chained you up. That's you. Done. To share your bread with the hungry and to shelter the homeless poor. So when we think of this time of conversion, this time of reorienting our hearts back to the Lord, it may well be that we find ourselves with this issue of criticism and judgmentality, and that we've boxed people in. Now, that highlighted, what do we do with it? Because you might say, well, okay, that's me. Okay, I admit it, I've done that. So how do we get out of that? How do we change that? One issue we're always going to come across in the spiritual life that's going to stop us from making any spiritual progress is excessive self-reliance. When I rely too much on myself. So I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to make it happen. That kind of I'm going to do this. That generally won't work. It generally doesn't work. Because we're mortal, we're weak. So this is where, again, in this time of Lent, prayer, fasting, almsgiving, prayer, if I want to change my heart, if I want my heart to be a loving place, a kind of a warm place for such people almost to come so that they can feel loved, like they can maybe feel even the presence of God. With certain people, when you meet them, you just feel that person is close to God. That person has this love or this warmth that's actually literally out of this world. Well, then that's where I get it. I don't get it from me. I get it from the Lord, and the way I access that is through prayer. So when my heart is united to the heart of the Lord, then I have what I need. I have the love I need. I have the forgiveness I need. I have the grace to start again with people. I have the grace to seek the best in people. It's very interesting because actually, if I'm on slight public confession here, by nature, I'm very critical. Sorry, I am though. It helps at times. It helps to be observant. Doesn't help to be critical. But it's amazing when you can turn that analytical mind to positive things. It's quite surprising what it reveals. I could look at anybody, Michael here, right, and instantaneously, to one or two, not very many actually in your case, negative things might come to mind. Okay. But use that same gift. Because remember, having a good observation, being observant, can be an absolute gift. All these things can be gifts if they're used right. So now use that kind of analysis, that analytical mind and that memory that I have of him. What are the good things that he's done? What has he brought to community? And you actually, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Whereas if I can go with my instinct is the negative box, the critical box. But with the grace of God, I want to be perfect as the Heavenly Father is perfect. This is a command of Jesus. And even in today's reading, it's so blunt. Okay, he said, you've heard how it was said to our ancestors, you must not kill, and if anyone kills, he must go to the court. But I say this to you. That's quite a statement from the Lord. Like he said, that's okay. That's not wrong. Don't kill, right? We get that, but I'm calling it to way more, to way more than just not killing each other. I'm calling it to actual love of each other. And when you have a problem with your brother, so he said, don't call him fool, don't call him renegade. I was thinking, why is this such a problem? Because sometimes people are foolish. Sometimes people are foolish. Sometimes people are renegade. We don't really use that word much, but any kind of a criticism you might have. Sometimes people are lazy. Sometimes people are forgetful. Sometimes people are fearful. You see these weaknesses in other people and you go, sheesh, why are they so full of all these weaknesses? Okay, but the issue here isn't so much recognizing the thing, I think. I think the issue is that if you call your brother a fool, so you've judged him. Because it may be a person isn't as intelligent as another. Maybe a person isn't as hardworking as another. That's real life. It's just the way it is. Okay. But it's the judgment, it's the putting them into that box that becomes the problem. So, and then again, look at how serious the Lord takes this. So then, if you're bringing your offering to the altar, so that's a really good thing. I'm bringing my offering to the altar. I'm going to mass, the equivalent, right? I'm going to mass. I'm doing something good. I'm coming into chapel to pray. But I recognize there that there's something against my brother. I have something against my brother or my sister, for that matter. The Lord says, leave your offering at the altar. Go and be reconciled with your brother first. And then come back and bring your offering. So is that going to be reconciled with your brother first? It's easy to recognize the limitations. Well, I think for a lot of people it's easy to recognize the limitations of other people. I think it comes very naturally and instinctively to us. It does to me, I'm sorry, again, public confession, but that part I think is relatively easy. But then, if you recognize you've done that, fix it. That's what the Lord is saying here. The Lord is really, really blunt. And he goes on to say, come to terms with your opponent in good time while you're still on the way to the court, or he may hand you to the judge to the officer, you'll be thrown in prison. I'll tell you solemnly, you will not get out until you've paid the last penny. So he's saying this is really serious. If we recognize that we've put a person or a nation, or even it can happen between men who judge all women who judge all men. There's all sorts of ways of doing this. But if I recognize I've boxed any person or any group or any nation, it's my responsibility to let them out. This is a divine command to be reconciled with your brother first. Do something about it. Fix it. But again, always through the grace of God, not with just excessive self-reliance, because that's a dead end. With the grace of God. So through my prayer, if I recognize, I find another slight public confession. Bless us. This one's been recorded. When I was in the seminary, I found there was one particular brother I found really, really difficult. How much detail can I give without it being obvious who it is? So he was in the seminary with me. That's broad enough. And I found him really, really difficult. So I spoke to our superior. I spoke to Father Paul, and I said, look, Father Paul, I'm just finding this guy really, really difficult. And Father Paul looked at me and he said two things. He said, number one, serve him. I said, serve him. Can I spit in his soup? I said, no, serve him and pray for him. I just said, these are the last things I want to do. I want to avoid him and kind of sit down in a little corner and just seethe. Just kind of sit there and go, he did this and he did that, and look at him looking for attention, look at him thinking he's so great, look at him and he's so smart, and telling everyone what he got in his exams, and look at me. You just want to sit there and list. Because that's easy. And he said, serve him and pray for him. Serve him and pray for him. This is what we do to release people from their boxes. So Jesus, we ask you today that we can live this gospel, that we can free those who we've judged or boxed, that they can experience the freedom that they deserve as children of God. Amen.